Each year, 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience mental illness, and 17% of youth ages 6 to 17 experience a mental health disorder.
I joined NAMI because I have 2 sons that live with a mental illness, and I didn't want any other families to feel alone like I did.
At NAMI, the first thing we want anyone to know is you are not alone in your mental health journey.
I just really want to talk about so people know that you don't have to go through it alone.
NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization, dedicated to building better lives for the millions of Americans affected by mental illness. We started as 2 moms, gathered around a kitchen table in 1979. And today, we are an alliance of more than 600 local affiliates and 48 state organizations who work in your community to raise awareness, build advocacy, and provide support and education. NAMI envisions a world where all people affected by mental illness live healthy, fulfilling lives supported by a community that cares. Every year we are expanding, no matter race, religion, age, or sexual identity. We are people with lived experience, families and loved ones, survivors and advocates, and together, we will fight the stigma surrounding mental health and create a better world for the sake of all of us. We have resources for you and can't wait to become an extension of your family. We are here for a healthier world. We are here for better mental health. We are here for each other. Join us.
Hello again. My name is John Pulaski, and I'm with the NAMI group here in Billings, National Alliance on Mental Illness. And today we're talking about counseling for school kids, primarily elementary students, because, well, I'll use myself as an example when we talked about talking with counselors and do we need them and what good do they do and how do they be trained, is that when I was in school, a counselor was what you went to see when you were getting ready to go to college. That's where I place it. They gave you the advice on where you could go to school and everything else. But now, with what has happened in society and the world, kids come into the elementary school system with a lack of social skills, let alone academic skills. And so we're going to be talking about some of those and how maybe we can resolve some of the problems that these challenges are being put forth for counselors as well as parents and the students and the teachers. So joining me today we have Chad Jackson. Chad is a teacher at Ponderosa Elementary in Billings, and joining him is Tanya Kirschman. And Tanya, you teach?
I'm a school counselor at Highland.
School counselor at Highland. And both have incredible backgrounds and I can't salute them enough for what they do, and bless your heart for trying to keep up with the curve of what's going on. But like I said, let's back up and talk about, when I was going to school, the thing that we needed was guidance in where we were going to go with our life after school. Well, now it seems kids need help even getting into school and staying there. So, Chad, if you want to start, give me a little idea of what we're going to take a look at.
Well, I mean, in this day and age, the world is constantly changing, and that, of course, impacts the students that we have, their backgrounds as they come into the schools and what they're bringing in with them. And so I'm thankful that I get to be a school counselor and work with kids, and I'm engaged with kindergartners almost from the moment they come into our school, and providing support for them, their families, the staff members that are working with them. And the sad probably fact of the matter is that, especially in a post-COVID world, with some of the challenges our country is facing, like students are coming in and the baggage that they're bringing in with them, even little 5-year-olds, little 6-year-olds, as they enter the schools, is probably something that, at least in my career of 18 years in education, I haven't seen anything quite like it as what I've seen the last couple of years.
Wow.
So probably, I know that our position as school counselors is more needed than ever. So.
Amazing. Tanya, when we talk about things that kids need and the challenges, give me an idea of some of the skills that they either have or they don't have. And we were talking about, the big thing now nationally is they don't know the 3 branches of government, et cetera, et cetera. But it seems to be even deeper than that as far as even basic social skills.
Yeah, I mean, it's foundational, emotional, and social skills.
Okay.
I mean, not knowing, how to manage the big feelings in their body and, the consequences that come from not knowing how to manage that, understanding how their brain works and how to calm themselves down and how to, work out conflict socially and how to be social, how to enter into play on the playground, and just really foundational, we call social thinking skills. They're just not, coming in with. Sometimes I think we hope kids will pick it up along the way, but thinking of COVID, when we were all separated, some kids just didn't have that opportunity to kind of pick up those skills. So they have to be, offered to be taught more concretely, so kids can pick those up and then transfer those from like a smaller, like if we're working with them in our office, out to a real social situation, so they can be successful.
Sure.
In managing those relationships and their own feelings.
Go
I
ahead.
think too, one thing that I've noticed the last several years in particular is that we're getting students coming in, and this is particularly true of our younger students, kindergarten, first grade, but all the way through elementary. I think what I've been seeing is so many kids that are completely dysregulated, and that was just to add to what Tanya was saying. And so emotionally, one of their only coping mechanisms that we are seeing, at least in my school, is little kids that their sort of their regulation tool is to get in front of a screen. Well, when we get them in school, that's not really an option. And trying to teach them how to regulate and calm themselves and soothe themselves is something that maybe historically we've taken for granted, with mothers and grandmothers and family members helping students learn that co-regulation thing when they are dysregulated. Whereas now what we're seeing is we're seeing students that come in and the kind of the only regulation tool they've been exposed to or really utilized is a screen, which is very concerning.
Either television or computer.
Absolutely.
How are the computer skills, when we take a look at that, for the young kids nowadays? Are they
I'm gonna
adequate?
say they're pretty
or are
adept
they-
at, navigating online. Typing, I guess that would be more, geared toward like older kids, but the typing skills, I would say, are,
Good.
Where you had to, type in on a laptop aren't really.
Yeah, the
you know.
story I like to
Yeah.
tell is my granddaughter, one of them that we have. We were watching a program one time, and I was kind of fidgeting. She says, "What's wrong?" And I said, "Well, I want to watch this, but I have to go to the bathroom." She said, "Oh, Grandpa." She grabbed the thing and put it on pause. I had no idea, no idea. And, I'm an adult, educated, I hope. But it's amazing what you can pick up along the way and see where their minds, just what you're talking about, where did they get what they use as input, and then the output that comes from that. A lot of times, I'm sure, is quite different than what traditional standards would have been. So obviously there is a need for counseling, elementary right through 12th grade, right?
Absolutely.
More than ever.
Yep, more than ever.
Do you think we're going to improve on that, or are we kind of stuck? I don't mean to put you on the spot, but because I know it's of a political bent in a way, but
I think as a society, as individuals, we have to put our money where our mouth is. And so I think we have to decide if these kind of things are something that we're going to back and we're going to support, and we're going to look at the impact that has on our students and our society and our culture. And so, my hope is, I'm optimistic. I think that society, educators, teachers, parents even, will see the value of making sure that the social emotional aspect of our students is healthy so that they can do the academic piece. So I believe that it will, but there's concerns about what bumps are we going to, how are we going to have to learn that the hard way, or are we just going to recognize that that's a value of our culture or our, even just our little community here in Montana or in the Billings area, and are we going to back that up with resources that are needed in order to make that successful? So.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we either pay now or we pay later.
Oh.
You know, truly,
Yeah,
if we can do some
absolutely.
early intervention.
Invest on the front end.
Yeah, and give these kids the skills
A
they
little,
need. They're
little
just
bit
gonna-
more, because I recall Jay Leno and some of the guys that have, you know, they go out on the street and ask questions that just, you go, wow, you know, you don't know the three branches of government or who the president is or who the vice president is. But social skills is really scary, because that's how you interact all the time. And a lot of it maybe comes from, is it parenting skills that are soft nowadays as compared to before?
Well, I think that schools have taken on a lot to prepare kids, and so sometimes families just think that we'll be able to teach those skills when they come, but it's obviously really helpful if they've already met some developmental milestones and they have, you know, some knowledge coming in, so that we can just take them where they're at and you know, and educate them up. Otherwise, we have to back up and start, you know, what they didn't get. So start there, which takes
Right from
longer,
the
kind of puts
get-go.
them behind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough. What kind of testing things do you do for children that determine where they are and if they have needs, and what kind of things can be done to help those needs?
School counselors don't do testing, so maybe we can do observations or take testing that's done by other professionals and use their recommendations to help them in the school setting if that's within our scope of the school counselor, but we don't provide any testing at the
So
school
you're
counselor.
more of a observe and then make recommendations
Or
rather than
suggestions, or
doing
how
the
we
work
can
itself,
support
huh?
and support families too, you know, help them, give them ideas for things they
Great.
can do at home as well. Or refer out if it's, you know, out of our scope, or they need a higher level of care, then we refer out to, you know, the family, so they either seek out, you know, from a medical doctor or a mental health professional and get the resources that they need, support they need.
As far as mental health is concerned, where do you think kids are nowadays? Are they in pretty good shape, being able to cope or not?
I wouldn't say so. You can speak more to that.
Well, I'm also a licensed clinical professional counselor called an LCPC, and I run a private practice after school and stuff. And for example, in our area, there are literally not nearly enough licensed counselors or licensed social workers to meet the need, not just of the Billings area, but surrounding area, because a lot of rural areas come into the Billings area for some of these things. You know, they would, just like they would do for medical needs or concerns. And there are not enough counselors to meet the needs. Every statistic that I've seen, particularly with regards to anxiety, depression, those kinds of things, trauma even, we're seeing unprecedented levels and numbers and increases. It's not just the prevalence, it's actually the increase of those kind of mental health issues. And so then, of course, any child, any student, doesn't matter if they're a kindergartner or a 12th grader, if they're coming in with clinical level concerns in anxiety, they're not able to engage cognitively in order to learn. So they can't find success until we first are helping them to manage and deal with the anxiety levels, the trauma levels, the depression levels, the outside noise sometimes, and the amount of information they're taking in, and help them to process that. They're not able to cognitively engage with their prefrontal lobes and with their upper level thinking skills. So,
Now, does that start with the individual schools, school districts, the state, or federal? Or is it a combination?
yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yes, sir.
let's start where, obviously, local needs it. What's being done in some of the local instances that you see?
You know, actually, totally a little side note, but definitely connected. They're actually working on the process of revising some of the not standards, but some of the processes involved in becoming licensed as a therapist. So for example, a new development within the last couple of years is that an individual that is in the process of getting their license as a therapist can start to see clients as long as they are underneath another licensed counselor. So for example, I've taken on a individual who is starting therapy, but he is able to start working directly with students and clients, even though he doesn't have his license quite yet, as he's in the process of getting it, so that with the hopes that there are more professionals, because he's completed all his coursework and his master's level stuff, in order to start working right away with the needs in the community. And so I think that's a step in the right direction. And I know that there are at a national level, they're trying to address some of the shortages in education and in mental health. And how do we get people, highly qualified people, to a position where they can help meet the needs of the community or students.
Right, so in a way, you're a mentor as well as an instructor.
Yep, doing both. So we meet every week and go through his client list, and right now he's only got a couple, but that's super helpful because then there's one more person, and he can't even handle the referrals that are already coming his way, and he just is getting started. So,
Boy,
yeah.
Wow. Observations on your side of the block, or let's look at it from boys and girls.
As far as what was the question again?
Well, of what's going on or any changes that might be coming down the pike to help. Girls obviously have different problems than boys. A lot of them are the same, but how do you address some of those?
I mean, every child is different, and every things that they struggle with are different. So we're just such school counselors, or we just do so many things in the scope of our job. We just kind of have to be able to be ready to address pretty much anything that comes our way, and we're trained to do that. We're trained in facilitating a comprehensive school counseling program, but it's a lot of flexibility, and it's a lot of kind of just knowing what's in our scope, what we need to refer out for, and within our scope being able to provide services to all students, to some students who the data shows need a little bit more, and then our top tier students who just need really individualized support with specific issues and
I think
skills.
they call it jujitsu, don't they? Or at one time, different things that you have to have multiple skills in.
Yeah.
So give me an idea what your educational background is for both of you then, as far as how did you get here and where did you come from? To start.
My parents are teachers, so I decided I never wanted to be a teacher, and then I went to the U of M and took a bunch of different classes, and one was at the preschool they had there, and I loved it. So I was like, oh darn, I want to be a teacher. So I got my teaching degree, and I kind of was also interested in like social work too, but I didn't really want to go get 2 degrees. And once I found out about school counseling, I thought it was a wonderful way to marry like the education part and social skills part. So I went on to get my master's in education with the endorsement in school counseling.
Great. How about you?
Well, similarly, my mom was a teacher. She taught for almost 40 years in this area. And then my father was a therapist and specialized in young kids, was kind of his thing. And he told me not to go into counseling. And so I ended up in education because I wanted to work with kids. And so I have a Spanish degree in K-12 certification and then an elementary degree. And after 8-9 years in education as a classroom teacher, I had the opportunity to move to a school counseling position. So I also have my master's in school counseling. And I've been in the same elementary, actually. This is my 12th year at Ponderosa, and I can't really imagine doing anything else. So, yeah.
Oh, bless your heart, both of you. That's commendable to not want to be something and wind up that
That's where your heart's
becoming
at,
your
so.
path of life.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's great. The outlook in the future now, we've got a lot of things on the national level as far as education bills and other things that are getting beefed up and whatever. Jump back to the No Child Left Behind thing, I guess is another one that comes to mind. Does that play into anything that you guys do in counseling with the kids?
I don't think they have No Child Left Behind anymore, do they? I think
Regardless, we don't leave any child
Right.
behind.
Yeah,
So,
Right.
okay.
I
it's
mean,
not a
so
mandate anymore. But.
regardless of legal status of those kinds of things, I mean, we every year it's like you never know what you're going to get, what hand you're going to get dealt. So I mean, I think sometimes stories are one of the best ways to share. We have a kiddo at our school, a kindergartner, and we have to do a bunch of genetic testing to see, but the kid is not capable of even going down like the steps on a bus. So the first week of school, my principal and I were like together giving him rides back and forth to school. And then we've been working for 3 weeks now on teaching him how to go down steps. And, so what the point is, like, we love that kiddo. He's making tons of progress. We don't ever know what we're going to get, but it's like you've got to be ready to meet the needs of whatever kid walks through our doors. And that can be incredibly challenging sometimes, but also so rewarding. And as a school counselor, like, there are a lot of times where we have to do a lot of education too ourselves just to like figure out what a kid needs and to meet that need. And as a school counselor, I feel like we are uniquely suited too to support teachers. So there are times where teachers come to me and they have no idea and they don't have the time to try and like figure out or research something in order to figure out what a kid needs and connect them to the right resources. So we're constantly connecting people and pulling things and coming up with plans for how to meet a student's need. And so, I mean, we're doing everything we can. But what is so unique about that is, for example, Tanya's job is going to look very different from my job, even though we're both elementary school counselors. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be based on our demographics, on the needs in our school, even just in individual kids that show up, and suddenly we have this kid and this need, and we've got to figure out how we can help this kid have the greatest chance for success. So,
Big challenge, isn't it?
yes, sir.
Definitely, definitely. The legislature in Montana is pro-education, I would guess. What can we as private citizens do? What, if we want to help you guys, what would you recommend?
I think the biggest thing right now is that, there's been a recommendation that they do away with the school counselor to student ratio. Right now in the state of Montana, it's 1 to 400, one full-time school counselor for every 400 students. And that's been, incredibly helpful to make sure the right people are in the right places to help kids. And so the recommendation right now going before the Board of Education is that ratio go away, which, could result in a lot of students not having access to a school counselor and getting what they need. The national recommendation is 1 to 250. So we're not there yet, but I think it's scary to us as school counselors hearing that there might not be a ratio, because then students aren't going to have the same access right now that they do to a school counselor. So I think anybody who would be willing to support and speak out about that would be really helpful for the kids of Montana. I mean, they deserve that.
So that would include PTA and other parents
That's
organizations, or not?
That could speak out. Anybody can give public comment and about that. So
Okay.
yeah.
Come to school board meetings?
Well, it's at the state level, so it's it's going through the Board of
Yeah, but
Education
I mean,
right now, and then it'll
yeah,
go to the legislature.
for some of the help that you guys need. Can parents help you guys do your daily work? Do you have any means of using volunteer help or not?
I mean, I guess if we have a, like an event going on, something like that, like it's a school-wide event or something. Otherwise, part of our job
Not
is confidentiality.
on a day-to-day basis, though, then, huh?
Probably not. It's great when parents are supportive, though. When we can work together as a team. I mean, I feel like we are a team, but when we're all working together to benefit that child, I mean, that's just the best case scenario for any student.
Wow. Amazing. The good old days. I know each one of us has a set of those things that we would like to go back to, but the times they are changing, obviously, and what can be done in the future to help kids do better and be better, because the fundamentals are so important, and we seem to be lacking so many of them that it's like there's got to be a place to start and then build from there. So again, I can't compliment you guys enough for what you do on a daily basis. And I'm sure it's not an 8-to-5 job, I know that, and it's not a 5-day-a-week job. And probably even during the summers, you're consumed with doing things. In fact, let's take a quick look at that. What happens to you during the summer? Do you still counsel?
You know, I prepare so a lot of school counselors, I would say the vast majority of school counselors, there's different prongs of a school counseling program. One of the things that I know I do in elementary school is I do weekly lessons in all the classrooms, and at the beginning of the year I even do a thing where I go to all our kindergarten, first and second grade classrooms every day. So I do a lesson every day in every one of those classrooms to get to know them all. So the summer, there's a lot of prep work, because once the school year starts, I mean, every minute is oftentimes consumed, and people are in and out of my office, and teachers need support. So I have all those lessons prepared and ready in the summertime. And then, you know, I also try to practice what I preach, so the summer is a time of rejuvenation as well, and preparation.
Charge your batteries.
So that you're ready to go. And then finally, I also do the therapy thing outside of school, so that's my secondary job. But I mean, that doesn't go away in the summer, and so working with a lot of clients in the summer as well. So
Wow. We're out of time, but what an interesting subject, and I hope we can have you guys come back, give us an update, and tell us how we can help along the way. And I want to thank you folks for joining us in this program today to take a look at what counseling is in schools, K through 12, all of the things that are involved in it, and how maybe you can help and politic or just volunteer to do some things. Go to school board meetings, find out what's going on. Parenting skills are a significant part of that as well. So, on behalf of NAMI and our guests today, thank you for joining us.